So I'll talk a little bit about some of the trends that we're seeing at Inkling in the marketplace, textbooks in general, and I'll talk a little bit about exactly how we address the challenges and the trends that we're seeing.
Can you guys hear okay in the back?
Yeah, can I?
Yep.
Take one of those? Is that better? Yeah, good. The future I envision for textbooks, and I think the future we envision at Inkling, is a little different. I think of it as 1,000 years out. There's some future archaeologists kind of doing core samples, and they find this layer of textbooks, and it comes right after the layer of phone books that they find. And so it's funny to talk about textbooks. I think it's kind of arbitrary to talk about that organization of knowledge. I think we're on the cusp of a time when certainly all the knowledge inside of those textbooks is very, very valuable, but we're at a point in time where it is being unbundled and disaggregated and reassembled in lots of interesting new ways. And Inkling is here to help enable that and help our publishing partners enable that. And so I would say there's actually a great digital unbundling sweeping across many media verticals. We've seen it in music and television, in newspapers, magazines, having been at Flipboard and seeing it front and center with magazines and newspapers, or at Xbox where we saw some of the unbundling of entertainment front and center, and the new business models that were created out of that, and in some cases incumbents who were able to recognize what was going on and take advantage of it, and in some cases seeing entirely new services spring up to replace the old. And I think Inkling is in a position to help, and we're seeing actually in this case many of our publishing partners on the forefront admirably unbundling themselves and starting to create new services, new modular services, and we think that's the right path. Next. The problem with the shift to digital so far is the Fabergé unicorn. So far, many of the people that we've seen in the marketplace have addressed the digital opportunity as an opportunity to create these sort of one-off, beautiful if odd apps that are impossible to support. It's not a scalable model, and there's whether they be apps or other types of initiatives that are pretty difficult to replicate, and really don't make for a scalable long-term business in digital. Moreover, really hard to replicate across a proliferating device landscape. And so, obviously all of us up here are trying to solve for that. But we think what's missing is a true production process for reliably developing beautiful digital content at scale. We don't think we've seen that yet. And we don't need Fabergé unicorns, but we do think at Inkling we're building an assembly line, and we're building for the long term. We're not short term. We're not an app development shop. We are trying to build infrastructure in the cloud, the collaboration tools, the workflow, the production infrastructure required to get this done right. So we decided to take the hard path. I think there are a lot of people that did take the easy path and became app development shops, and there are a lot of short-term opportunities to do that. But we've been at this for 2 or 3 years now. We've been working with some of the largest academic publishers in the world to help them solve these problems. And we're 3 years old. based in San Francisco, backed by Sequoia Capital. We're on our just about to close our Series C round of financing. We're over 100 people now, and this is starting to scale, and it's starting to make a lot of sense for some of the biggest publishers in the world to start thinking this way. So like I said, some of the challenges that we've been able to address, fidelity in terms of display across multiple devices and contexts, the flexibility to not only be able to organize into ebooks. As I say, I think those are kind of arbitrary monolith of knowledge to even think of books anymore. And so we're seeing a lot of our partners taking the semantic structure of the content that we create for them and remix it and deliver it and reassemble it into really interesting services, wrap assessment around it, wrap homework around it, wrap new business models around it. And so that's really powerful. Collaboration, obviously, like these types of books don't get built by individuals, and so all of our tools are in the cloud, accessible by groups, geographically dispersed all over the world, assembling projects in the way that software developers assemble projects, not necessarily we're applying some of the best practices of software development to book production, I think, for the first time. And then scalability. This content must be able to build quickly and inexpensively to support enterprise scale. So we think we've got the world's first cloud publishing platform. And we're solving for the challenges that I mentioned before posed by unbundling of all of this content and the reassembly required. We achieve this by what I call the 4 C's of digital publishing: consumption, commerce, creation, and the cloud. First, I'll just talk a little bit briefly about our clients. I think most people, I describe this as sort of an iceberg. Most people are familiar with us from the part they can see at the surface, which are the clients. And so they see the beautiful iPad and iPhone apps that we have, the desktop experiences. We're coming to Android by the end of the year, but there is a very powerful infrastructure powering all of those client experiences under the surface. I won't demo that today, but I'm happy to do that for anybody if they'd like to see it. And I'll talk a little bit about what that platform looks like and some of the attributes. But you can also go online and sign up for Inkling Habitat if you want to actually try that. It's free, and you can go have a look at it. So all of our client experiences are built with responsive design principles, beautiful layouts across virtually any device, ensuring that rich content is rendered to our exacting standards, to your exacting standards as well. Likewise, on the web, you get the same type of experiences across all of the relevant HTML5 browser platforms. In terms of how these things get sold, we have an Inkling Store, where you can get free chapters. Also encourage you to go download Inkling clients and check them out if you haven't already. And then I think moving on to Inkling Habitat, this is where it gets interesting. This is the under the surface part of the iceberg. This is the interface you get if you are a developer of books, and this is the part you can go, create an account for free and go dabble with. But it is the backbone of some of the content production of the world's largest publishers. It's a powerful browser-based collaboration environment for building content in the cloud. All content created in Habitat lives on cards. Those cards can be thought of as logically organized learning objects. Typically, book chapters are just groups of cards, but this is where I get into the structure in the assembly line, because all of these pieces could be assembled into an ebook, but they could also be delivered based on the results of an assessment. Everything has its own unique ID associated with it, so I can reach in and pull out a table or a specific paragraph or a specific bullet in a list and deliver it on the basis of somebody's assessment. And the types of systems that the Pearsons of the world are creating right now, these modular types of experiences, are doing exactly this. And I think many of these publishers have created these visions for how instructors will remix or respond with interesting learning objects on the basis of performance. And the hard part that I think a lot of people haven't addressed is that all of the content that's locked up in these books hasn't been structured in a way that can make it accessible to those types of systems, adaptive systems. And so we're doing the work of indexing it all and making it uniformly accessible via APIs in the cloud. This is just another view of that interface, but you can create very, very rich content experiences. It's not unlike EPUB. It's just that we got started before EPUB 3 was around. If you look at the underlying structure of the HTML, it's actually very similar, except that we have built some enhancements. On top of that, you won't see necessarily in EPUB 3, but we are getting involved in IDPF and helping drive some of those standards. We're not interested in making this a differentiator for us. We'd like to see the whole industry end up with a better EPUB in the long term. And again, some of the attributes of Habitat are in that it's browser-based, enables global workflows. We can import from legacy print formats. Obviously, people have a lot of InDesign. We're experimenting with export to InDesign, which is kind of interesting and moving us up the value chain, where you can export, to digital or print, and automated quality control, and we do have export to EPUB 3 today. But the real catch, and this is my last slide, the fourth C I talked about, and the four C's is the cloud. What's probably most interesting about what we're doing now, it's not rendering very well, the cloud there, but some of the biggest academic publishers in the world have seen the power of this infrastructure and have started to come to us to license this software as a service platform so that they can start delivering those types of experiences that I mentioned, whether they're instructor interfaces that are branded by our partners, that allow instructors to remix content into their own playlists for their specific course, or whether it be white-labeled storefronts. We're able to power all of that with APIs, with fulfillment APIs. But like I mentioned, because everything is structured the way it is, these systems can reach into our cloud and pluck out the exact right content at the exact right time. So it's really about kind of contextually aware organization of knowledge and delivery of knowledge in the longer term. Either way, I think we're helping to power a future that is increasingly unbundled in this space and is being reassembled into valuable new forms that are unlocking the potential of what we used to call textbooks. Thanks.